Good morning, this is Wayne Belisle, and welcome to another Smart Profit Maximizing Moment. As I said, my name is Wayne Belisle. I'm the founder of a local CPA firm, been in business since 1991, so I've been doing this a long time, helping business owners make more money and pay less taxes. Excuse me. Which is really what we do. We've narrowed it down and we do three things mainly. Of course, if asked, we'll do some other stuff, but we really only take new clients to do three things. We do their tax return, we do their tax planning, and with tax planning, we've saved our clients over $4.3 million in the last 3 years, all right? And we help our clients make more money. I have two clients, one myself, I have others, but I mean, these are the two I use as examples because I can use myself as permission, where sales actually went down by $40,000, profit went up by 90. The goal is to make more money, not to make more sales. I have another client whose sales literally were flat and had a $350,000 increase in bottom line because of some of the tricks that we show in what I've created, which is the Smart Profit Maximizing System. All right? It's important to understand that at the end of the day, the goal is to make profits, not to make sales. All right? But it's also what goes into making profits is a lot of things. All right? And I'm going to talk today about the education of the accidental manager, okay, and how to educate them. What do I mean by an accidental manager? The truth is, the majority of business owners got into business because they, put their time in. They served their internship, their journeymanship, if we were using the old formula. Because that's basically what happens. The vast majority of business owners start their business between the ages of 35 and 45. Why? They graduate from school, they learn their craft, they become proficient at their craft, they reach a point where they think, I can do this better, or at least as well, as the majority of people doing business in there. Problem is there's so many skills they don't know, all right? If they're lucky in the management standpoint, they will end up have had some management experience like I did. I was started, for the longest time I worked in CPA firms, pretty much the only person I had to manage was me, which is difficult enough. Try managing yourself sometimes. It's not always easy, or else we wouldn't need help. Then I worked at Magnolia Coca-Cola, where I had between 35 and 45 people working with me at various times during the 6 years. That's what I mean by the accidental manager. People go to school to be management majors, and to be honest about it, they're not going to manage until, that really doesn't help them much, to be honest with you. Most managers are promoted from within. My daughter's a nurse. Most of the nurse supervisors were floor nurses. Okay? My son works in the lab at the hospital. Most of the lab supervisors were lab techs. All right? In accounting firms, most accounting managers started off at the bottom. Why? Because you're doing a field. All right? You're doing something that requires knowledge, and it's hard for somebody with a management degree, but not with an accounting degree, a nursing degree, a lab tech degree. Substitute what you want. Plumbers. Had a plumber come by. The head plumber, the guy in charge, who's in charge of the foreman, in charge of the crews, was a plumber for a long time. They got a bricklayer, their masonry work. The guys at the top were slinging bricks at the beginning of their career. And they learned all the steps. And there's a good reason for that. Because the reason is, very simply, you have to know the core competency in order to make sure that the work is done correctly. That's perfectly fine and makes a lot of sense and is the right thing to do. Problem with almost none of these people have formal management training, which is why I call them accidental managers. They probably never really wanted to be managers, all right? Sales and marketing skills are important in order to get customers. But having well-trained, motivated employees is the key to excellent customer service that will keep your customers coming back time and time again. So that's the problem. If you're not going to be doing it all yourself, which is called a job, I don't care if you're self-employed. If you don't have employees and you're only taking the work that you can do yourself, then you've just created yourself a job, which isn't necessarily wrong. There's situations where that makes a lot of sense, all right? But if you're trying to grow a business, you're going to bring in employees, you need to be better than an accidental manager, all right? Because give you an example. I heard about an employee who went to a Christmas birthday party. The manager pulled him aside and gave him a warning. Anybody with management training would understand that's flat out stupid. Because what you're doing is you're creating a hostile work environment for that employee. That employee's never going to forgive you. Simple as that. They went to something that was supposed to be a celebration with their coworkers, and you took it upon you at that point to pull them aside and truthfully embarrass them. All right, because no doubt about it, other employees are going to ask them, "What was that about?" And you're going to be pissed off enough to tell them. All right. So to be honest, that's what I'm talking about. I was on the school board at local Isleta Independent School District for 6 years. For 4 of those, we kept getting, we're kind of like the lawsuits percolate to us. And by the time they got to us, I got principals and vice principals who are professionals. Again, the problem is they started off as teachers normally and got graduated up and were accidental managers, making basic mistakes that were getting them sued and costing the districts hundreds of thousands of dollars. All right. So if you think this doesn't apply to you, you make the mistake, you get sued. Your employees make the mistake, you get sued. So you got to make sure you train it. One of the things I would do is understand that there's different ways. It's important to remember the golden rule when you're managing. Treat other people like you want to be treated. All right. When I first got to Magnolia Coca-Cola, I told you I had 35 to 40 employees. My 2 managers I ended up having to fire. Now, both of those situations, I helped one get a job, helped the other start the business that they wanted to do. Because one of the key things about remembering employees, there's no such thing as a bad employee. There's a bad fit. Now, obviously, there are bad employees, thieves, crooks, people that are violent. You know what I'm talking about, though. The normal employee that doesn't perform up to where they should be, it's because it doesn't mean they're bad. It's just they're not good fit for you. And we help them. Now, 6, 7 years later, when I opened my own CPA firm, they were 2 of my first clients. One started a bookkeeping firm, needed help, sent them to me to finish them, and I sent them back so he could keep the client. I wasn't trying to steal it from him. And the other he always wanted to teach. I helped him get a job at the community college because I had contacts there, and I did his tax return for many, many years. All right. There's a book I would buy for every first-time manager, and it's an old book, but I'm sure you can still find it. It's The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard, and I would also buy The E-Myth Manager by Michael E. Gerber. Basic stuff. Simple reads. The 1 Minute Manager is a simple read, but if you put those principles in place, you're really going to get it. All right. Here's some things that you have to master if you're going to be a good manager. Setting goals and job descriptions before the employee is hired. You need to know what that employee is supposed to be doing. Creating a good hiring system. We're going to talk about that at a future one of these moments. How to put a good hiring system in that gets you the right person. Proper training. You're never done training. Always train. Good delegation habits. That's another topic that I'm going to have to get into that I really got pretty good at. Management through weekly meetings. I did weekly meetings with my main staff that was reporting to me. All right. Catching your employees doing something right. That's a good one. That comes from the 1 Minute Manager. All managers are only time we seem to talk, if you're not all, but most managers, the only time they seem to really have interaction with the employee is when something's going wrong or when they're trying to discipline them. Don't forget to catch them doing something right. Learning to manage systems, not people. People are almost impossible to manage. I told you at the beginning, I have trouble managing myself. And so do most of you. All right? Truth of the matter is, if people didn't have trouble managing themselves, there wouldn't be so many people joining gyms on January 1st who aren't going to it again on February 1st. Guilty. But systems, once put in place, you're managing systems. You're training the employees to use them. So now when something breaks down, you go to the employee and see what happened in this system that this mistake happened. And you go through the steps. And if it's the employee, you go, you forgot to follow the system. Remember, here it is. We'll train them again. But you're attacking the system. If the system broke, you attack the system. It also doesn't put you on, what the hell happened here? How did you make this mistake? You're not coming in with that attitude. It's like, wow, we had a system in place that was supposed to take care of this. Let's see where it broke down. Different conversation. All right. Concentrate on cross-training. I always had people cross-trained, and I paid for that. All right. I made sure that if they hit, remember I talked yesterday, the day before, they all run together about pay scales. I only paid certain scales. A job's only worth so much. One of the ways they could go below the top, beyond the top, is to become proficient in another job. It also made my life easier. Somebody quit, somebody was sick, I had somebody to move over. All right. Growing talent from within. Key. Grow your own. I've hired other people that had tons of experience. They come here and I'm like, what did they have experience in? It's obviously they don't know anything. Just because there's a lot of accidental manager out there who accept mediocre work, and then they got 10 years experience, 5 years experience. You think they know what they're doing, you hire them and they don't, all right? Because they did enough to get by. Remember, one of my sayings is, mediocre employee is the worst employee you can have. Bad employees you get rid of. Good ones tend to quit you if you're not challenging them. That's another story. Establishing a proper compensation system. Talked about that. Nothing worse than having a compensation system. That's one tricky one. I've only had one cup of coffee. I'll have to have another one soon. That doesn't reward, what it should reward. You remember, you get what you reward. So if you want to reward productivity and getting good results, make sure that's built in. All right. I talked about which 2 books I would go into. I'd say review your current management system for areas needing improvement based against those items above. After you read at least the 1 Minute Manager, you should have these 3 in particular: hiring process, an employee training process, and a delegation process. Look, having employees is tricky, but you can't grow a business without them. And you need to understand what you should do in order to properly motivate an employee. Just because you're an accidental manager doesn't mean that you can't educate yourself. And that's key. All right. You don't have to get a management degree. I gave you a couple of books. The 1 Minute Manager is an excellent one. Use that one. You'll go a long, long way to eliminating 90% of the problems that affect the accidental manager. Hey, until next time, this is Wayne Blau saying, let's make this our most profitable year ever. Thank you very much.